Hi, friends and readers. Thanks for joining me here today, February the 2nd, on Wednesday. It's February. Okay, some things I want to chat with you about, and I hope you'll find them interesting. So go grab a cuppa, settle in, and let's get started. My beloved canine companion, Champy, died in January 2019. Lots of tears, memories. And for a long time, whenever I'd come home, I'd hear the clicking of his toes on the linoleum or the hardwood floors. Him waiting for me, his tail wagging, happy, happy, happy to see me. And we were torn in our decision to get another dog. I commit myself to taking our canines out every day, no matter the weather, no matter my schedule. Walking Champy was a huge part of my life, and I always looked for new places to walk him. When we first got him, he was just 3 months old, and he barfed during our first car ride. After cleaning up the mess, I looked at him sternly and said in no uncertain terms, "If you're going to be my dog, you need to be a car dog." That was the last time he barfed in the car, and we went on many wild rides for the next 12 and a half years. In July 2021, we finally got a rescue dog, whom I renamed Sadie. I had one parameter, medium size. Champy was well over 85 pounds. Sadie came with a lot of issues. She had been so traumatized in her then short 18 months of life. She still has a lot of trauma, although by now I feel she's decided we're her forever home, and she loves us, and we love her. She was fostered by a great person for 6 months. We were told by her that Sadie was not a good car dog. Reluctantly, we still took her. And for the first few months, we just walked outside our compound, short walks, getting to know each other walks, learning to walk on a leash. When I felt it was time to go to the fairgrounds, I told Sadie the same thing I told Champy, even though she'd not yet been in the car, much less thrown up. So on our first foray to the fairgrounds, she promptly jumped into the back seat of the car, and that was that. That was probably around the end of August 2021. At first, I was so aware of Sadie's trauma that I concentrated on her, how she did, what spooked her, teaching her that she didn't have to bark at every person who came near the car. By October 2021, our walks became more comfortable. Sadie and I were used to each other more or less. She knew I wasn't going to abandon her. She behaved on the leash. She loved smelling other dogs' calling cards, and she got spooked by leaves suddenly drifting across her line of view, her auditory route, or her olfactory arc. I felt I could start to enjoy our walks now that I wasn't so worried about her comfort level. And when I walk, I often look for signs or gestures from the universe. I love birds. I feel a surge of joy when I see red-tailed hawks hanging out on telephone wires, or nestled in trees, or elegantly flying. Their voices are like prayers. I love the silent stance of the snowy egret reflected in a clear pond. The dark blue herons soaring over the tops of oak trees move my heart. On the drive from our house to the fairgrounds, there's a cyclone fence at a very busy intersection that people use to hang signs advertising church bazaars, school events, flea markets, community gatherings, and radio stations. One day, as I made that left-hand turn past the quick stop towards the fairground, I noticed one particular sign. It was smaller than the rest. It had one purple flower on the right-hand side. There were only 3 lines on it. I had to drive past it for several days before I could wrap my mind around the message. This is temporary. This is manageable. We will do this together. Usually the signs I notice are in nature. The universe says, here's a sign, a bird, a feather, a gust of wind, pay attention. This sign was different. A person wrote this sign, commissioned this sign. A person put this sign on the cyclone fence. In my women's book, not the Walkerville Desire series, I include a quote along with the chapter title and number. I was so taken with this quote, I put it in my current book, with the author as unknown, found on a cyclone fence. In March 2020, I thought that sheltering in place would last for 2 weeks? Maybe 6? When I got this sign, we were about 19 months into the pandemic. We had been living with 6 feet social distancing, figuring out which masks were the best. Talented friends sewed cotton ones. The world was shut down, access only to essential places for groceries and medications. Some women friends were frustrated wearing lipstick and putting a mask on top of that. They complained about not getting their hair colored, their nails done. Kids were schooled en masse from home with the assumption that every household had computers that children had access to. And what about households with multiple school-aged children and only one computer? Volunteers showed up Monday through Friday at the school at the end of my long street, giving out boxes of food. As a senior, I was privileged to go to Costco or Safeway at 8 a.m., waiting in long lines, social distance, mask wearing. Friends died and we could not have memorial services. We could neither mourn nor could we celebrate their lives. Unbeknownst to us, our last Thanksgiving gathering of family and friends was in November 2019. We did not have one in 2020, and by 2021, I did not have the wherewithal, the energy necessary to host a crowd. This is temporary. In my very limited, naive fashion, I've come to love Martin Seligman's idea of a negative event being temporary as opposed to permanent. Remember, I'm the gal who has identified myself all my life as seeing the world with the glass half empty instead of half full. This pandemic, all the various mutations we've been experiencing are about being temporary. At some point, life is returning to normal, a new normal, and that's temporary too. This is manageable. If it's temporary, then it's manageable. Think of ourselves as being flexible in our notions about the world, our place in it, who we think we are. Can we adjust ourselves into being someone new? Can we change, adapt? This doesn't mean we become compliant, submissive. It's more along the lines of, can I adapt? Can I tweak my way of thinking I know everything, when in reality, I don't? We'll get through this together. For many of us, COVID has changed our lives. Many of us who had support groups prior to the pandemic continued with these relationships. We found ways of continuing to connect with that support via Zoom, phone calls, WhatsApp, and all those social media resources that we can sometimes shake our heads about. I have used online resources that I never knew existed. The folks who have the most difficult time during this time are those who always had an entourage, who always performed, who were always the belle of the ball, who always worked the room, who spent very little time in meditation. These folks have turned to self-reflection, perhaps journaling, going inwards instead of always reaching outside to alleviate their endless malcontent. I'm grateful for my friends, my support group, some whom I see via Zoom on a weekly basis, others only once in a while, and this pandemic has given me the gift of reconnecting with friends I'd lost track of for years. And slowly, perhaps, but steadily, I'm learning how to connect with you here every week. This is temporary. This is manageable. We will do this together. Who wrote this? Did you write this in reference to the pandemic? What prompted you to write this message? Whoever you are, thank you. And for you, my friends and readers, what is your interpretation of these 3 lines? You can leave a note in the comments here or drop me a line through Facebook, Instagram, or email. All the particulars are down below in the description. So that's your visit to my writer's room for today. As always, thanks for your company, and I hope to see you again next Wednesday. And remember, if you know someone who you think would like to join us, please give them my YouTube links. I always appreciate the chance to share my thoughts with new folks. Of course, new readers are always welcome as well. Far better than any advertising is a personal recommendation, so please do let your friends know about my work if you think they might enjoy it. There's a wealth of excellent information in the description just below me here. To start, remember that YouTube counts everything, so it means a lot if you give us thumbs up, and it's really helpful if you can subscribe to my channel by clicking that big red button. If you have questions or comments, look for links to my Facebook and Instagram and my email address. You'll also find the address of my Amazon page where all the Walkerville books are available to purchase on both Kindle and print editions. And AC wanted me to mention that he is still looking for more folks to join our beta reader team as well. He's put the email address for folks interested in learning more down there below as well. And of course, the direct link for next Wednesday's live chat is there. Hope to see you then. Thank you again for joining me, and have a great rest of the day.